All right, we're going to wrap it up. So, a lot of people have been asking, both on the internet, about scanning and drilling. How do I drill down with Tom? How do we select stocks that we want to buy or sell? What criteria are we putting into that? Now, I don't have time to run through all the scans, but what I have done, this is the scan, okay, that I've just done today of the Dow 30 using the Trade Guider scanner. Now, let me be very clear. This is the end-of-day program. It does not, this scanner is not usable in the real-time program. So it's an end-of-day version because they're both different codes. That's why they're different products. We used to have that where the code was the same, but this is now, this data that I'm using is coming from a built-in data feed. We have a partner, and the data feed is actually a company called realtimedata.com. And this is a business partner of ours. They're an excellent firm, and we chose to work with them mainly because they offer their data, the end-of-day data for the first month for $1 to try it. And so that's the reason we chose to use real-time data. And the engine that does this scan is all at the back end. It's not on your hard drive. So even if you've got a lousy computer, you can still get a great deal of speed to scan these stocks. And in fact, actually, while I'm talking about how we do it, this is a scan we've just done. I probably can, we've got a bit of time here. As I'm talking, I can actually quite easily do a scan here. E-signal to power your trade station. Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
Just trying to help you out there.
Yeah, but this is the end of day program. This is the end of day product, and e-signal doesn't work in end of day. Yeah, just so you know, I mean, with the real time product, that also at the moment works with 2 data feeds. It works with e-signal and it works with real-time data as well, and it's shortly going to work with TradeStation, so we hope, but was with their feed anyway. All right, so let's, first of all, we've done a scan of the strongest and weakest stocks in the sector, okay? So the Dow Jones 30, here is, as you can see, top and bottom, we can see that we've got the strongest stocks here and the weakest stocks here. Now, if I click on any of the stocks, it brings up the chart, okay? And what it's going to do, just like Tom showed you, it's going to compare which stocks are acting stronger or weaker than the index. That's all makes sense. Now, we mentioned that we want to be looking out for Yao Ming bars, okay? Now, on this chart, Trade Guider has these little horrible psychedelic lines here that you can see. I don't even know why the programmer put them in. But basically, Yao Ming looks like that. Bottom reversal. Yao Ming looks like that. Yao Ming looks like that. Okay, now, that's an interesting bar. So first thing I'm going to do is say, okay, this chart here, we're going to look and we're going to mark off our previous area of support, and now we've bounced off it. This looks like most of the other charts, of course, as it would do, because what we see here, if we zoom in now, is that this stock is acting stronger than the index. And we've got, like on a lot of these stocks, they all look very similar. Right at the bottom here, we've got what looks like a shakeout. Now, Tom has actually said he thinks the market's shaken out. This is what I believe we're going to see over the next few days. I think we'll see a correction down to that close of the, well, if it was it doesn't matter if I was looking at the indice or not, it's all going to do the same thing. I think it'll come down and we'll start to test that bar. There's a lot of supply around still. So don't expect this market to react suddenly unless there's another sudden black swan event. So once I've got this particular stock, if I like the fact that it's in the top 10, it goes in a watch list in my real-time software. So what I'm then looking to do is, for instance, this one's Boeing. We've also got Johnson & Johnson, which again you can see the parent index is below it and Johnson's hanging around. There was a good one that I liked here. Now look at Procter & Gamble at the moment. Can we see that the parent had that fall, but Procter & Gamble had this sideways motion, but it hasn't fallen very far with the index, and the spreads are narrow. That's interesting. So certainly I'd want to pay attention to that one and see where we go, because it's acting stronger. Now, the ones you want to avoid at the moment are the ones that I've been telling you to shorten the VSA club. And why? Because JP Morgan is at the bottom of the list. It's acting weaker. What's the weakest sector? The banking sector. I haven't got time to show you the sector scans, because I want to show you, how do you go and find Yao Ming on the charts? Someone said to me, Gavin, wouldn't it be great if you could scan for Yao Mings and find them out of all the stocks? Wouldn't that be... Could you invent that? I said, it's in there. What? You've got something that goes and checks? I said, well, how long have you had the software? He said, a year. I said, did you go through the Getting Started course? Oh, I haven't looked at that. Okay, this is a guy that I met some time ago. And I said, listen, he phoned me up. I said, we've got something that does this. What did I miss? What have I done wrong as a business to not show you the product? But I tell you what, there are people who've got it, and we've got a course that goes with it. And if you don't use the materials to get to where you need to be, you can't expect to make the money. But there is a very clear, detailed course with the end-of-day product that tells you how to scan to look for specific indicators. Okay? Now, if I want, I'll just show you quickly. Okay, it tells me here, what do I want to look for? A change in trend, which is blue, by the way, in the software, or VSA indicators. Now, what are the indicators I'm going to be looking for, really interested in? Climactic action, shakeouts at the bottom. At the top, no demands and up thrusts. Nothing difficult about this. This is not rocket science. I want to go back to the last 10 bars. I don't need 20. I only need 10. Click next. And it says, what do I want to do? I want to add a complete watch list. What do I want to add? I want to scan. I want to scan 500. That's quite a big chart. Okay, so it's put all my the S&P 500 is all done back end. Okay, this 40 minutes, 50 minutes used to take that. So I'll call this Wyckoff, in honour of Richard Wyckoff. Okay. Now what it does now, the software will go through, and it's now finding, or it's finding low volume bars for me. And because Trade Guider has indicator numbers, I know my favourite numbers that I look for. The two that you've got to look for are sign of weakness 1 and sign of strength 1. Who's got the software here, by the way? Who owns Guider? Just raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Write that down right now. Sign of strength 1, sign of weakness 1. They're very easy, and I'm seeing them on several charts already. Okay? Those indicators are climactic bars. They're Yao Ming screaming out at you. And what have we just seen the last week? Yao Ming. Okay? So now, roll through, and we expect now this is going to be bullish at this moment. I can't tell you what's going to happen Monday or Tuesday, but I've got climactic action that needs proving to me. How it proves itself to me is I look at Wyckoff principles. I mark the high of the S&P around the 1200. I mark the climactic bar, top and bottom, and I look for testing along the range. Now, the only caveat here is you've got to be patient, because I expect, because of that high volume from Thursday, we're going to see multiple tests. Look out for it. But there'll be stocks that will rally earlier than the index. And the scanner will tell you. It's the only scanner, this does not exist anywhere else, trust me, because it's based on VSA principles. And then, when I've got my strongest stocks, and I've seen Yao Ming appear, now all I've got to do is look for the principles you've just spent this weekend and your money learning. Now that isn't rocket science either. Now, we have, on all these charts, clusters, I know this, clusters of indicators. And when you get a cluster in one area, I would say it's 95% the market will do what those clusters tell you to do. Now, what I've noticed on my scanner, very interesting, the weak stocks are full of red indicators. There's no surprise there. And the green stocks are full of green ones, as I'll show you. That's not rocket science. So what I'm going to look for is to short any of those if they're at the top of their trend, if they're in a downtrend or at the top of the channel on no demand, although I'm against the parent index, which Wyckoff would say, no. You don't trade against the tide. So that would be counter-trend trading, which I don't teach, but occasionally I do when I'm not with Rob Hoffman. Because occasionally Rob smacks me over the head if I try and take a counter-trend trade. But to be fair, Rob, when I've taken trades at the top a couple of times... Now, just while we're waiting for this to finish, remember Thursday, we've got a live trading event with Rob and I. You're all invited. Every single one of you is invited. Okay, no charge there. And we're gonna be trading from 5 a.m. through, just to remind you, through till the close. 6 a.m. here, is it? Yeah, 6 a.m. through till about 11, 12, depends what the market does. If you want to see this at work, principle at work, and if you can't make it, we'll try. Are we going to record that and make that available to the VSA Club members? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now, this has been going for about 4 minutes here. So we're over halfway through. And what's interesting is the shape of these charts are different because you can tell the weak stocks immediately, just quickly looking. The ones that are weak, these ones over here, when you get to the chart, you can clearly see it. So what we want to do now is we want to define our best probability trades for next week. I don't hold positions for more than a week in the stocks. There's no need to. Why would you need to? Don't need to. You don't have to hold it forever. You could be in and out. I think we were talking earlier about being in and out of a stock 2 or 3 days. Trade guider, if you've got what I do, once I've found a real high probability trade, I then drill it down a time frame. So I go to a 240-minute chart and a 60-minute chart. That's it. And once I've got those 2 time frames with my bigger picture in place, I'll enter the market dependent on if we're in the right area of a trend channel. And hopefully I'll show you an example here right now, just so we can see. So now we've got about another 30 seconds left, and that's just scanned the entire S&P 500, just so you know. And we already know what our strongest stocks and our weakest stocks are. That scan's done. That took about 20 seconds. That didn't take long at all. Okay, can you see any questions coming in here, Rob, or is everything clean and green? All right. Now, what has come up now is a little dialog box. Can everybody see that? Up at the top here. Okay. Let's try and make that a little bigger if I can. Okay. Here it is. Actually, I need to pull that up just slightly there. That's it. Okay. So we can see basically here, anything where we see a signal in the last 3 days in here is where I'm interested in. Okay, so we're going to scan down, and we're going to see if there's... Okay, so we can see an indicator here. Can everybody see that? Can you all see that? And you see that at home? Okay, so what I can see here is we've got a sign of strength in the background. This is just a stock I've selected. Air products, chemicals, I'm assuming. Okay, now what I have here, I've got live bar confirmation mode on. What's that? That's these yellow boxes. Okay, now the yellow boxes that we see here warn us that a potential indicator is appearing at the right edge of the chart. Can anybody tell me what they could hazard a guess that indicator would be if the next bar closes higher? Anyone have a guess? We've got Yao Ming is here, not very excessive though, but it's there. It's come back down on no demand to the same level, and the volume's pretty much lower there. Can anybody tell me what that would be? Any ideas? So who said a test? Yeah, exactly. Test. I mean, it's testing the supply to the left. Yeah, so I know this has been tough. You've got to go back and review this. That's a setup right there. That right there is setting up. Now, would we buy that there? Based on what I've explained to you this weekend. Would you rush in and buy? Why not? That's not a trick question. It's a good answer. I wouldn't buy it. Why wouldn't we? It's in a downtrend. That's well done. We've got a big upthrust right above us. And the price is trending down. No, to buy that, there's a setup. And it's a very clear one. We should move up towards our area of weakness. We should move down and break this bar, Yao Ming. Take down, break this bar, Yao Ming. Get rid of Yao Ming. We don't want him there. We want to move away from Yao Ming, retest the top of Yao Ming, and take off to the upside. And I tell you what, you see that? And the whole market moves like that. You've got, after what you've been taught this weekend, and the news will probably be bad. Greece will go bust. The euro will be terrible. Remember these prophetic words. There will be some seriously bad news in the next week. Seriously bad news. And I've told you that. And this is an opportunity to keep and shake the market out again. I don't know what it'll be, and it may not be I'm not a prophet. It may not be a week, it may be 2 weeks, but it's going to be some news that's going to shake this market out again. There has to be, because it's there and it's in the right place. So we look at these indicators and we say, okay, we close that. I mean, look, every single one you go down. I mean, let's try and pick Home Depot. Okay? Now, Home Depot, why have I picked that? Because it's top of my scan list, and it's got a rating of 0.539. I'm not going to explain all of this because it's in the Getting Started guide, but it's a strong rating, actually. So we go and look at Home Depot. We scroll down, just here. You got to go, Gary?
Yeah,
that's a shame. I'll get you a copy of this.
Oh, absolutely.
I know you wanted it, so we'll take care of that for you. Hey, Gary?
You can master bar charting and this stuff until it's pressing volume.
Gary just said if you can master this stuff and read the chart properly, and he's an ex-floor trader, by the way, so he knows his stuff.
I mean, hopefully, with the VSA kind of thing, I'll tell you stories about manipulation, about the floor and all that nature-wise. But, I mean, a lot of stories from the floor that I can share with you guys. It's not proprietary like that. So hopefully as the time goes on. But I think that, you follow price and volume. I think it's everything you need.
And what Gary's saying, for those of you on the internet, he's just talking about reaffirming what we've already discussed, buddy.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. You're a great guy.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
My wife don't think so.
That's all right. Yeah, sorry. 1, 2, 3. Right. Very straightforward. I can't put a drawing tool on here at the moment because I'm still analysing this. But you see this line where my red vertical line is? You see that's Yao Ming bar here, okay? It's not the volume isn't as high as I'd like, but it's good enough. It's still pretty high. There's the average volume line there, the red line that Trade Guider puts in. It's higher, okay? That is pretty high Yao Ming bar. That's why it's come down, because you've got a red signal there. The signals are uncannily accurate, as anyone who's got the software will know. But now we've got something saying there's a potential shakeout. There. So then if it's genuine, it'll take out the top of this widespread bar. That's bullish. That's not bearish.
Now, in order to trade with the trend, I will go back up to the breakdown bar, and if it doesn't go up, then I will go short.
Yep, from up here, yeah? Where the red line is. If it goes up here, well, the question was, in order to follow the trend, which is at the moment down, if it goes back up here and fails to penetrate and you get a VSA principle here of weakness, you may take a quick short down there. There's nothing wrong with that, except there's one reason I wouldn't do it. This is in the background. That hasn't disappeared. Your risk, that could very easily break out to the upside, and I've seen it happen. That's why I'm a little more cautious. I need more evidence. While that widespread bar is there, that could trade in a range for a while, and you could get caught out.
But if you take that long way, you're still in a downtrend, so you're doing counter-trend trading if it goes above the red line?
Well, I can't show you it now, but I would bet if I put up 300 bars, we'd be in an uptrend at the bottom of a trend channel here. I would bet $100 with you that we would be at the bottom of an uptrend channel there, pushed out the channel and shaken out. That's what I suspect has happened there. But let's go and have a look at Home Depot. Okay, we're looking for any signs of strength on Home Depot. Do we see anybody? Any signs of strength in the last few days on Home Depot, the strongest stock? What's it done? Look very closely. This is the Home Depot thing. Now look closely at the chart for what we've taught you. This is the strongest stock in the index. Yes, well done. Excellent. What this gentleman said, spot on. It's coming down and it's testing the top of Yao Ming because it's acting stronger than the index, which is why it isn't down here. That's why the software's picked it out for you. It said, this is the one to be watching. Now, again, you've got weakness above you, which is not surprised because I suspect this to trade in a range. But that is a stock that's on the list. Has to be. Because as the index, which has fallen, this hasn't fallen anywhere near as far. I mean, that was 0.539 is a very strong area of support. So for some reason, I don't know what, the fundamentals on Home Depot must be very, very good. They must think this is a stock that they don't want to mark down yet Because I suppose with all the bad news coming out, they're expecting everyone's going to be so fearful that they'll be painting their homes. They won't want to go out anywhere. I don't know. I don't know the logic, but there's a reason that's a strong stock. So what we've been able to identify here is what's going on with it. Now, again, one of the things you'd then do here, you'd look at the weekly chart, which I haven't got time to do. I want to get you out of here in 20 minutes. You'd look at the weekly chart, and this is exactly, you do a top-down approach based on the Wyckoff method, which is look at the weekly chart and determine which area of the trend channel you're in, top or bottom. If it's in an uptrend, you really want to be at the bottom to think of buying, not the top. That's a very important point. If it's on the weekly, it's more powerful if there's high volume and a shakeout right below you at the bottom of the trend channel. But also expect to see testing. They can very easily, when you've got a channel in place, bring it out the channel. And I haven't had time to talk about it, but we call that overbought and oversold areas. You get overbought and oversold. And when you're oversold or you're overbought, you become vulnerable. That's a subject that I'll cover in a VSA club event in the future. So we've got this sign of strength there. We can see that it's come off, but now there's not a lot of volume around, and it's holding the top of Yao Ming's bar. Now, if that penetrates 35.50 and goes up through 36, and the index begins to come bullish, which stock am I interested in? That one. Now, let's go and look at a weak stock. And we'll look at, let's have a look which one we'll look at. Just bear with me. Oh, hold on a second. Let me just, that's why it's done that. Okay, so we'll look at Bank of America. Okay, so we know that just so you know, by the way, when you've got your indicator scanner up, you can't just bring up the charts. You've actually got to make a note of what the stock is and then look at it. Bank of America. Well, look, it's littered with weakness. It's acting much weaker than the index, as we can see. There's where the index was at the top. See this? Here's the signs of weakness all above you, all right? Reversals, up thrusts, no demand bars. Right at the top, we've got distribution of this stock. And the indicators, you know, they're not wrong. They're based on Wyckoff principles that you're learning. And here we have a whole series of indicators as we come over, and we mushroom over. Let's have a look at what happens. We try to go up on no demand here, but the price is trending up. Do you short that? No, because you've still got an uptrend in place. And if I put my diamonds on, you'll see that the diamond trending system, which I'm not going to explain here because I don't have time, give you short-term uptrends and downtrends. This is daily. So while I've got green diamonds, I certainly don't want to be looking around at all for shorting opportunities while the diamonds are green. If anything, I'd want to be looking at tests in a rising market or strength behind us. Now, actually down here, when that rallied, we did have my favourite indicator. And I'm just picking this at random, but you'll see that's a test in a rising market. It's a perfect example. There's strength in the background, the trend is moving up, and you should find there'll be another one somewhere up here. There it is. Test as well. And a rising market, that's where you buy. Because the trending system in Trade Guide is blue and green, confirming an uptrend. I know some of you haven't got the software, that's fine. But this is how we teach you. In the training course that comes with it, we say, hey, trade in harmony with the trend, look for a test, look for a climactic bar in an uptrend. Now, at the opposite side, if this rolls over, because it's a weak stock, if it comes off, we've got this here now, and they've marked it down below it here. So you can see the grey chart, is actually the stock itself. And here we can see we're acting lower than the index. That's why it's picked it as the weakest chart. So, again, the only thing I'd urge caution on, if this would be a stock, though, if the market drifts up on no demand up to the top of the Yao Ming bar here, which we know is going to act as resistance, and you like a 3 or 4 day short, that would be a pick. I would take that. Because it's weaker than the index, and it's highly likely that we're going to trade in a range. And if you don't want to be too bored for a few, no, everyone wants to be in the market. I know that. Rob and I, we're in the trading room together. We'll sit there for 6 hours and talk and not trade. Because we don't get permission to trade. And I'll tell you what, we've kept a lot of people out of a lot of trouble for that very same reason. There's people in there just firing at the market. They're gambling. That's all they're doing. They're not trading. They're gambling. And I think, Rob and I should run a room called Traders Anonymous. It's another.
It's true.
It's true. I mean,
I don't, no disrespect intended, but so many traders come to me, and you and I were sitting in the elevator last night. You're like, how many times?
yeah, Rob, you might want to just
I don't want to go out there.
Well, no, but otherwise they won't hear you, and then they get So just quickly pop up and say what you're going to say, because we.
I was kind of talking to him one-on-one, but with this core group here.
Yeah. Well, we are on the internet as well, my friend. Sorry. There you go. We've got to get Rob up here. All right. There you go, buddy.
Okay. Well, the reality is, a lot of people when they approach me, and even one of our colleagues right here, we were in the elevator together. Was last night I think it was. So Rob, how many times do you usually trade? And I'll tell you, the maximum number of times I've traded in my live trading room is 6. So for the number of times people have actually watched me, do trades, and I've had trades in one day, the maximum number is 6. Usually, maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 a day. Who knows? Last week, I was just taking the world by storm. Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, I did absolutely no trades. And and then Thursday, I went ahead and I took the one in the morning with you, and then I went ahead and I called it quits because I was getting ready to pack up. I know you stayed, and because I said I if the market conditions aren't there, I don't want to stay and go ahead and give back. And I know that day you kind of had that situation where you made one winner, made a loser, still end up greener for the day. That's great. The point is, though, if the market conditions aren't there or they're too high risk, I'll step away. And so the thing is, though, most people won't step away. They won't step away. They sit there and they treat it like a trading arcade. Their account is their bag of coins, and they sit there and I'm sitting here, especially in the summertime. Last year, that's why I kind of modified my hours a little bit to account for more of the Euro trading session right now. That's why we're talking 6 o'clock Eastern time, and then going into around noon Eastern time. That way I'm getting some good hours out of the Euro, and then going and get some of the best hours out of the U.S. session. And then in the afternoon, when everybody's sitting there thinking I should be at the beach, out with my friends at the barbecue, they're not giving back all their profits from the morning. But some people just can't do that. It's an obsession, or it's a compulsion, or there's financial issues. They're driving them to make a trade. So what do? They go ahead, they make a bad trade, they lose money. Now what do they got to do? Now they got to make back what they lost, and they still got to make back the original amount they wanted to make in the first place. And they just keep digging that hole to the point where they eventually find me down the road. And of course, a lot of people I've heard the most incredible stories, everything from tragedies in families with divorces, to of course the more usual thing. My spouse says I've got X number of days, weeks, months to do this, or I got to go get a job, a daytime job, whatever, and I hear everything in between. But a lot of that starts with that compulsion. They just can't step away from a bad setup. Or a lack of setup. And it reminds me, and I shared the story with somebody here today, just real quickly. Remember last year we were in L.A. together? Yeah. For an hour and a half, we were up on stage together, as fate would have it. One of the first presentations, if not the first presentation, you and I actually did together. And the S&Ps were in a 4 to 6 tick range for an hour and a half. It was tick. Yeah, it was just barely even moving. It was just flat. And Gavin asked the question, because I'm like, there's no trade here. And Gavin asked the question, does anybody out there see a trade? One guy says, well, yeah, you could have channel traded that for the last hour and a half. Oh, true story. Gavin will tell you, true story. And I said, really? And I said, but, with the bid and the offer, how would you actually make that work? And we proceeded to talk for a few minutes. Come to find out, he's like, well, yeah, you're right. I did lose 75% of my account doing that. True story. And I said, I'm sorry, you lost 75% of the account. It was one of these big man on campus syndrome kind of things where there's 200 people in the room and he wanted to blurt something out and say, well, yeah, you could have done that. And come to find out, he'd lost 75% of his account. I think he said he had like a $10,000 account, lost $7,500 doing this. And I'm like, but you just professed this strategy. And that's the problem. There's people, maybe some people in this room, maybe some people out on the internet listening to this story right now. But there's so many people out there that are hungry just for the next get rich quick, the next thing that's going to make all the difference in the world for them, that they'll listen to somebody out blurting something out in the middle of a presentation and be like, yeah, that's the ticket. I've been trying to trend trade, and I'm not making any money, so I need to be a channel trader. Yeah, that's the ticket. And come to find out, this guy was out here professing this strategy in front of 200 people that we were speaking to, and he lost 75% of his money doing this. 75% of his money. True story. And so the point of this all is that so many people are putting themselves in these precarious positions, and I see it, like I said, summertime just seems to be even more pervasive, because there's the people that just step away at lunchtime and lock in their profits for the day. Then there's the people that look outside and think, wow, it's really gorgeous out there, or my wife and my kids, or my husband and my kids went to the beach, or my friends are having a barbecue, and I'm sitting here stuck. Or right now, we're sitting here, out in Florida, and, we could be at the beach, and I'm like, I got to get paid to trade. And isn't that, what we have, this sensation. And so I can't encourage people enough to resist that urge. That it's a trader killer. It is. And that may seem like such common sense, but if you guys really go back and think, many of you have probably at some point in your trading career, because I still face it. I still face it occasionally where I'm like, the only reason I'm here is because I do have, this situation where, people are expecting me to be there that day. Usually, though, I'll tell my students, we'll go through it and see, does anybody see a trade? I go through the setup, and if we shut down an hour early, we shut down an hour early. Or like Thursday, I walked away with my profit. I didn't give anything back. You know what I'm saying? And so I can't urge you guys to think about that enough. That may not just have anything to do with Wyckoffian principles, but you know what? That's a common sense element that every single person here needs, regardless of what you trade, regardless of whatever method is your trade. I personally, and it's very clear in some of the principles that were discussed here, a lot of my techniques, I've always been told a lot of my techniques that I use are Wyckoffian in nature. Clearly the principles that Gary had reviewed earlier, a lot of the laws that he reviewed and rules I certainly follow in my live trading room. And so, I guess that may be true. But you know what? It doesn't matter what you follow. Moving average strategies, Elliott wave, pick your poison. You can be really great at that, be a great analyst, but that's not going to put money in your pocket if you're over trading for the wrong reasons, and I can't emphasize that enough. That's why I'm spending so much time harping on this. I do that a lot in my room too, because there's so many people that come like, well, you only trade 1 to 4 or 5 times a day? I get people that go ahead and say, I trade 10 times, 20 times. What was the one guy? There was one guy that was like 30 sometimes,
There's one lady that's in our room, she's just pulling the trigger for no reason.
Yeah, you're right. So the point being that, above and beyond everything you've heard today, everything you heard yesterday, think about some of those things too, because psychology has a lot to do with it, because you can get the skill sets here to understand, because a lot of these tools and techniques are very important. In fact, on my YouTube videos, I talk about these techniques as well. I've got a couple hundred videos out there, but I also talk about psychology, because that's just as important, okay? So that's my 2 cents worth.
See, now you've done it now. You can relax now, and I can go. You can have a nice meal tonight. He's hungry, ladies and gentlemen. That's why he's like a grizzly bear when he's hungry. I've got to spend another week with him yet. I said to him, "Don't worry, Rob. I'll catch some fish and you'll eat. You'll be fine. But my fishing's pretty lousy, so you're going to be grizzly all week, my friend." All right. So, in summary, a few of you are asking about the end of day program. No, we don't. We're not going to discount it. There's no special price. No. But what I will do, if for those of you that want it, the end of day product, what I can do for you is the chart reading masterclass, which we sell. John, the chart reading masterclass, which is $495. If you order by tomorrow night and you mention Best of Wyckoff, best thing you can do is email me. I'll throw in the chart reading masterclass and 3 months data feed if you want to order the end of day. You have to email to do that, though, tradeguide@hotmail.com. It won't be available from the website. For the upgrade, yes, I've already spoken to. I've got your email. I've got that. So tradeguide@hotmail.com. Yes, it will scan Australian stocks. It'll scan the FTSE. It will scan anything. Indeed, here, if you look, I've actually got the Aussie market here. Look, so the answer is, yes, we can scan. Test or no survival. Pound Springs. Spot on with APD. You're spot on with APD on the weekly. Great. How long do your trades last, Mr. Hoffman? I think you answered that. Could you repeat that, please? I think we're covered on that. All right, so I think that's it. I think it's been a hell of a 2 days. Anything you want to add, Richard, while we're here? I think let me sort of summarise for you where I think we're at right now. I didn't know how this weekend was going to go. You never do when you put on these events. What I do know is you get a nice group of people always. And you always meet nice people at these events. I think that trading is difficult enough. We have the VSA Club, which is our community, of which I'm going to extend everybody that's here who's not in the club a week's access for free, no charge, which means you can come to our live trading room. You do need to give Richard your details if you want to do that, if you want to come into the VSA Club, so we can get your email address and get you set up. If you're on the web, again, and you're not a Trade Guider VSA Club member, it's a week's complimentary membership. We'll do that. You need to email tradeguider@hotmail.com so we can get you set up. Well, I can't do that here manually. In relation to what we've learned from our educators, they're not here, but I want to thank them because, you know something, without them, we don't have an event. Without people like Dr. Gary Fuller, I mean, talk about enthusiasm and passion for this business. You know, we look at Rob here, who just wants to keep people out of trouble. Gail, who came here today, thank you, Gail. It's really appreciated. Great presentation. You know, I think that as we look through this whole weekend, and we go back and we say to ourselves, okay, David Weiss, what a great speaker. A lot of people have emailed in to say the simplicity of what he was talking, but it is simple. And finally, I want to thank Paul at the back there, Paul Coughlin, because he's going to buy me some beers tonight, so I really want to praise him at the best. Paul, I really want to thank you and pass this on to Andy. I know he's not listening at the moment, but Andy Maguire and Paul were our headline speakers here. They did it last minute. They also did it for the same reasons as we do this, because they're good guys. They want to help, nothing more. We just want to share with other human beings what's truly going on. Yeah. So thank Andy for me. Yeah, that's fine. If for those of you that want to join Rob's live trading room, he's also doing a special which you can come up and see him on afterwards. I think you're giving away all your DVDs. If for a 3-month subscription, they're worth $2,500. Is that right? Okay. And how much is the subscription for your room?
For 3 months, it's only
$785 for the 3 months. And I tell you, it's full-time trading Monday to Friday. So you need to be up early every morning. You need to be nimble. But Rob will keep you out of trouble. Have we achieved our objective? Well, from what I can see from earlier on, the questions I asked, yes, but we're going to have missed some things. We won't do everything perfect because we're not perfect human beings. We try, we strive. The feedback I've had so far was that the first morning they couldn't get the wyckoff connection, and now they're all wyckoffed out. You know, because there is a lot of wyckoff here. But remember what we called this event. It wasn't called the Best of Wyckoff. It was actually called Wyckoff Rediscovered, which is exactly what we think we've done. For everybody listening, we've rediscovered methodologies that all say the same thing, but just in a slightly different way. We have a piece of software that has computerized Wyckoff. We've been able to show that those signals, as Tom said today earlier, he's proud of what he did because we trade them live. Rob shows them live. We've put them into eSignal. eSignal don't take on rubbishy signals. I mean, they're a sensible company, a big company. They have an ETF that plugs into the main platform, which Rob and I highly recommend. We both trade with eSignal. I don't trade with TradeStation. I just got asked, do I use TradeStation? No, I don't. I don't. Purely because I've been very happy with the service I've got at eSignal and because I like the data that I get from there. If those of you are thinking about brokerage, you can talk to Mike. You've got his details. But it's dead on, 5:30 p.m. So I want to say thanks to everybody. Thank you to you, the audience, for being here. Because without you paying to come and see us teaching you, we don't have an event. So on behalf of Trade Guider, Best of Wyckoff, thanks to our sponsors. Good night, God bless, and go in peace. Take care. Bye.